All right. Hey, Sam. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Don. Looking forward to this. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited. As our listeners heard in the previous video, we've got something really, really exciting to talk about today. A big release here from Sam and team at Hekimo around autonomous security agents, aka operator. Obviously, as an AI agent fan myself, this was something that when Sam and I discussed prior to planning, I couldn't have been more excited about bringing him on to talk about what they're doing. Obviously, this is a huge announcement for them from the business side, from the technology side of an achievement, as there's few companies in the industry that are really getting into this. And so, kudos to Sam, to you and to team for coming out with something so innovative and something we're going to dive deep into today to figure out what it's about, and also to hear about the release and more about your vision around what autonomous security agents can do for customers.
We also announced our Series A funding round today. We just raised $10.5 million from Vertex Ventures and Zig Capital, and also announced the AI agent or the AI operator. Looking forward
Huge.
to diving deep.
And we'll talk more about that recent funding round and what you expect from that. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. So, the idea of autonomous agents is one thing, AI agents is another. But then we add autonomous and then we add security. There's a lot to unfold and unwrap with that. So let's start with this first question. With the rise in crime rates and persistent staffing shortages, how exactly are autonomous security agents fundamentally changing physical security?
To understand how these agents are changing physical security today, we need to first understand some of the problems or challenges facing the industry. Many of the listeners might know this already. If you look at the security guarding, or the classic physical security industry, there's a huge labor shortage there. Security companies, from the big ones to the small local ones, are finding it hard to hire people, and even if they're able to hire people, the quality is a big problem. And that's the backdrop or the context in which these autonomous agents or AI agents or AI operators are making a big difference. On one hand, you have security companies struggling to have security officers, and AI bringing these innovations, AI having these developments to solve these AI developments, and these AI agents are directly solving that problem. Where, for example, if you take patrolling an area as an example, our AI agent can now look at any camera video, analyze them constantly in real time, and look out for any anomalies that literally can be described in a sentence. Like if you want to detect somebody with a gun, or somebody falling down, or somebody just trespassing or loitering in an area, the AI can catch that. The AI agent catches that and then analyzes a standard operating procedure. Analyzes a standard operating procedure just like a human operator would on, let's say, there shouldn't be anyone between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. and between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. it's okay. And the AI agent can not only analyze the video but also analyze all the metadata around it, the time at which it happened, what needs to be done, how it should be escalated, and so on. And the AI agent can follow that SOP just like a human operator and then take action on it, or recommend what the action should be for a human operator, thereby assisting that human operator and then saving that human operator valuable amounts of time in responding to an incident. So even though the AI operator will soon be capable of doing more and more actions like phone calls and so on, we now recommend and we now let human operators do parts that need escalation, empathy, like understanding the situation and talking to someone. Those are tasks that we still have human operators do, but the AI operators do most of the heavy lifting until things reach that stage.
Yeah, that it does make sense. Actually, I'd love to hear when you mentioned SOPs, and now just out of curiosity, is that an SOP that the customer has some control over, or is it just some standard security SOP, or is it a standard security SOP that's the AI is trained on?
It's what the customers dictate essentially. If the customer, like in our case specifically, for every new customer, we sit down with the customer and discuss, hey, if the AI detects this, what should the AI do? Like, should it call you? Should it call someone? Or is that okay between sometimes? Or are there exceptions? Like a quick example is if there are customers where nobody's expected on site at night, but security guards can come patrol or do what's called a courtesy patrol, like 5 times every night, for example. And if customers can give description of them, they will be coming in, let's say, coming in a white car with ABC security logo like written on the side. The customer can give descriptions like that, and then that goes to the SOP, and then the AI operator can take that SOP and then if the AI operator sees a white car with ABC security written on the side, like it'll intelligently conclude that okay, this is the security operator who is coming in, this is the security guard who is coming in frequently during the night, and not a trespassing event, even though it's a vehicle on the lot. Going back to your question, yes, the SOP is described by the customer, and the autonomous agent takes that and to process events and videos that come in.
That's awesome. I love the fact that the customer can feed in their own data, and that it just isn't a feature. Like there's aspects where certainly there's solutions that just get an input, reacts to the input. In this case, it's reacting in a way that is specific to their business. So wherever they want, however they want the operator to run is really based on the SOP that they've described or provided. That's really exciting. Do you feel like that? I mean, that one thing stuck out to me. I know there's a lot of things going on with this autonomous agent, but you know, what's maybe besides that, what's one thing about it that really like you think is one of the number one things that makes it valuable? And it could be that, I don't know, but that one stuck out to me pretty quickly as a differentiator, but just out of curiosity.
That is a differentiator, and then I'll just double down on why this is so important. Because even like first of all, the adoption of AI is still very low in the physical security industry, as we all know. And even when companies and even when users adopt AI, it's for very specific use cases. Okay, I need to detect people here, or I need to detect license plates here. It's like very specific use cases. And even from an AI standpoint, until this development that we made, like we were constrained by that. If you need AI to detect somebody trespassing or loitering, you needed to train a model with lots of data of like people loitering, and then build one model for that. Now, if you want to detect, let's say, somebody taking out a gun at the same video clip, you'll have to train another model with a lot of data specific to that scenario, specific to that threat, so to say, and then build algorithms for that. With what we have developed with the AI operator, the autonomous security agent, you don't need to like build new algorithms to detect something new. You just need to describe it in words. And this is where we combine the best of traditional computer vision, deep learning based computer vision, and modern generative AI based on large language models. Once you combine both of them, you can now detect anything that can be described in words without having to go build a model with its own set of training data to detect like one specific thing. Like it becomes a very generic model that can handle anything happening in front of a camera that can be described in words.
Yeah. And to me, that's something that's been missing for a long time that people could only imagine before. You know,
Yeah.
generative AI has been such a great way to democratize these solutions. Otherwise, if you were to make, you know, a deep learning model that detected all these variables, it would take forever. You know, it's kind of like I think about robotics, which is slightly off topic, but, you know, Boston Dynamics have been pushing the robots around for a long time, you know, to learn certain environments. And now insert generative AI, that could be a combination of both, you know, deep learning or machine learning and generative AI, let's say, that now has allowed the possibility of at-home robots as a potential future, right? But without that, we wouldn't have had that. So I love that it's coming to the industry, and I love that you're doing that. And I'd love to hear more about this recent funding. That's a huge accomplishment. I think what I read in some of the press releases, this was, I think now total funding was around the range of 20 million.
Yeah, that's correct.
Right.
So they more than double the amount of funding that we have raised. We had raised 10 million before this, and we just raised another 10 and a half. So bringing the total to 20 and a half million.
Awesome. And is that because of this technology release that you're coming out with, or is there something else built in? Maybe it's a next round of growth that you see happening, or what do you think the basis of that came from?
It's a combination of factors. One is just the market momentum that we have had just all the last year, where we tripled our revenue as well as our customer base. So that's like solid growth just all the last year, and we have we have prevented like thousands of incidents at this point through our agents and our human operators, and like even saved a life. I can talk more about later, but it's a real impact that we are bringing in, literally keeping the world a safer, making the world a safer place, like seriously. And on top of that, the strong technology that we have been building, and the announcement today of the AI operator, the AI agent, it was not built overnight. That was the result of like many months of R&D by the team. So like those are all factors that went into Vertex and Zig co-leading this round. And that's also worth pointing out. Like we have like two major VC firms coming together to lead this round. That's also and it was an oversubscribed round. So that shows the amount of investor interest that we are getting to and solving this problem.
Yeah, congratulations. That's a big deal, especially in this next round. I'm really looking forward to seeing you grow. And I know we see it at the shows, but I think there's a lot to promise here. So just super excited for Akimo and you.
Yeah.
I'd love to go into the product a little bit more, the AI operator, right? Or more or less an autonomous security agent. But so it promises to combine, let's say, generative AI with computer vision. We literally just mentioned that. Could you just unpack for us what makes this approach so transformative compared to traditional security systems? And I know we touched on that a little bit, but I think let's make a really deep distinction between traditional security systems and what seems to be this new approach of combining the best of both worlds between, what AI has been used in this space, between a combination machine to deep learning. Now, with the insertion of generative AI, unpack what makes this new approach, so transformative.
To understand that, let's go and look at like what the industry offers today, and it's mostly either on-site security guards, which are expensive, but they have like it provides that on-site human interaction, and guard companies are suffering from like hiring quality issues and so on. On the other hand, on the other extreme, you have traditional intrusion or burglar alarm systems that are by definition reactive. Let's say if you have a door sensor, for that sensor to go off, like somebody needs to like break the door. Like by that time, it's already late, so it's too reactive. And then, or you can have like somebody watching cameras all the time in a security operations center, and humans are not designed, nor are we good at looking at 16 cameras on a screen and then finding those anomalies. And that's where this AI development makes a big difference, where it combines the best of all, where AI can look for anything that can be described, and the customer can give an SOP that contains like even up to like 10, 20 bullet points. Okay, look for this, and then it can proactively look for those things and even respond to incidents. One thing that we do well is integrate with existing security hardware that can be cameras, alarm systems, or even speakers, where if you detect, let's say, somebody trespassing into an area, even before they come near the building or the door, we could give audio warnings through speakers, and that can deter a lot of these incidents. That's in stark contrast to a traditional alarm system where like it's too reactive. And if all the deterrences, all the methods of deterrence are not working, we escalate that to a real human operator who can then call law enforcement and then give them it'll be a verified threat, so to say, because we are seeing the operator is seeing it in live video, and then that's again in stark contrast to traditional alarm systems where it's a single signal going to the monitoring station, and then many jurisdictions don't even respond or have stopped responding to such alarms. So it's a holistic security system that's more effective than current solutions at every step, like from detecting or catching the incident, which with AI it can do it. It can catch a variety of incidents more reliably, to even trying to deter incidents through speaker top down and other. And if that's also not enough, like escalating it with full information that can be shared with a guard company, law enforcement, and so on. So it's transforming how security is done end to end, from detection to deterrence to response.
Did I hear that right? Are you sending AI to talk down on a speaker at all, or is it? Or oh, really? So it's able to create its own language, or basically just sends that transcription down, or maybe uses voice AI to talk down based on the scenario. So if it sees a scenario of man walking in a yard, it would say, "Hey, guy, blue shirt, whatever. I can see you walking in the yard." That's incredible. I haven't heard of that before. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes
and
sense, but I haven't heard of that at all.
that's where combining computer vision
Yeah.
with generative AI gives it most benefit. Like because with just computer vision, you can detect the person there, but if you combine that with generative AI, it can synthesize a audio clip in a tone that's like strong enough and sounds natural, and relate that all the speaker to detail that specific like intruders.
I could see, and you're probably already doing this now, but I could see you picking up a ton of customers that run alarm centers. Also, like a lot of the alarm verification companies that exist, as opposed to them having a person talk down, they could just do this at scale, and then maybe when it's a big enough a problem, they could then have human in the loop when and where, if needed.
100%. And then even when the human in the loop comes into the picture, that human will have complete context given to him or her by the AI operator, by the AI agent. And that's another way to, you mentioned the alarm industry and alarm systems. Like almost all buildings have alarm systems, and then people don't even think about it when they get an alarm system. And the reason there is that those systems are very inexpensive and they provide that peace of mind. And what we are doing is combining the best of such alarm systems with on-site security guards, which are like 2-3 orders of magnitude more expensive than an alarm system, but give all the benefits of having an on-site security guard at a fraction of the cost, or at a cost comparable to having an alarm system. That's the innovation that we are doing from an industry standpoint, like best of both alarms and guards.
Yeah, and alarm verification, I mean, last time I looked into it, which has been some time, it's really expensive, like the traditional sense. They could be paying at a site hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month or thousands, depending on the number of camera feeds, right? Just to verify that alarm happened. And in some cases, I'm wondering that jurisdictions will start to require alarm verifications. And no one can afford that at scale, right? It's like now small businesses, when the alarm goes off, what happens today, I think still is the case, right? The alarm center calls the person and say, hey, we've detected an alarm, and they're asking for verification before they dispatch, maybe in some areas of the country. And so, well, how is a small business owner supposed to do that if they're not there, right? And so they now inserted cameras in order to have that alarm verification from some sort of alarm center, or they use software that we're all familiar with in the industry to do that. But there's always a human behind it. And then, and so I'd imagine that instead of having these centers that are doing that, we're going to see that need go down a lot. So it's not even just big end users. It could just be alarm centers. And I could see this helping not just from the big companies, but also down to the small companies by way of the alarm centers that have to verify the alarms anyways, assuming that alarm verification does become a bigger problem, is what I'm saying.
And even when the alarm centers call the customer to verify that, like typically this could be at like 3 a.m. The customer might be like literally sleeping.
Right. Yeah.
If you wake them up and ask like there's someone on site, like shall we escalate, and then most of the time is it that obvious, just escalate, and like that's even if they pick up the phone. So it's that workflow, that entire workflow can be improved a lot. Like it's like in 2025, if somebody designs an alarm system from scratch, I'm pretty sure it will be like what we have, like based on cameras, based on AI doing most of the work, and humans just overseeing what the AI does. And if you think about it, like even like alarm systems, the basics of the alarm system, of you having a door contact or a magnetic sensor on the door that gets detached, like that was the best technology that we had when alarm systems first came into existence in the like 60s, 70s, and 80s. But the whole technology has moved on like significantly from magnetic sensors that can be put on a door, where cameras are like so inexpensive these days, and like AI companies like us do a great job taking the video from the camera and then doing everything that's needed after that. Yeah, alarm industries will get revolutionized by or is getting revolutionized by AI agents and AI operators like ours.
So this is more current state, are we at the point today where customers don't need door position switches if they have a camera? Are we there yet right now? Or are we still trying to work on that?
We would still recommend a combination of both. It depends on how precise you want to be. Like we work with many Fortune 500 customers where they use access control systems with door position switches or door contacts. And even though The only there's a corner case or an edge case there where the door is not completely closed but appears to be closed. There are edge cases like that where a sensor could provide additional information which cannot be gleaned, which cannot be concluded by the camera conclusively. But for most cases, yeah, I mean the camera-based system can be way more effective than a pure door contact-based system, and a combination of both will be awesome. But if someone has to choose, I would any day go with the camera over a traditional door sensor to detect intrusion.
Yeah, and then eventually we'll use the camera to enter the door, right? No more readers. Been waiting on that day. It's like a camera could just use face detection as long as that the customer accepts that and we get past that point of whatever privacy. It just makes sense. Walk up to the door shunts, just unlock the door. Forget about cars, forget about mobile phones, forget about readers. The access panel could still work the electronics, but I could see that if the logic lives within the VMS system makes that logic and decides I'm seeing a face, which is their credential. I'm deciding their access permissions with it live within the VMS or within a system like yours. I don't know. And then it sends the output to shunt the door. That basically the door controllers, they go from these crazy complicated things into something a lot more simple that has the fire alarm rating, but just simply just input, output. Yeah, I don't even know if that exists, but that sounds awesome to me. I don't know why.
I mean that is the future. In some sense, like cameras and camera analytics AI on video is cameras and AI are actually taking over traditional sensors and devices in the security industry.
Yeah. So let's talk about you using your press release the term human-like reasoning. And I'm a fan. And Sam, so I have a AI automation agency, and so we build agents to automate business workflows. So not so much on the security side, we're focused on like the business and the repetitive, mundane tasks that any business would have, and the industry is chock full of businesses for all businesses. And so I say that because really it wasn't until reasoning models showed up like 5 months ago or so with O1 release that the AI became way more interesting, because now we could reduce the error rates, aka hallucinations. Now these things can make more impactful decisions, and when there's higher impact, there's more value, from the customer's perspective and all of our perspective. And so using the term human-like reasoning is super intriguing to me just on that simple basis alone. So you did describe your AI as having that capability of human-like reasoning. Can you share how you ensure that level of accuracy and reliability, especially, when lives and properties depend on, as you mentioned before, the security industry is, it's a really important space. Yep.
I mean, there are two questions here in that question. One is what is human-like reasoning?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll give a great example. So when we released this, so we internally released this product about like 3 weeks ago, and the team has been using it for various use cases with existing customers and potential customers. And one of the customers asked us, hey, can you detect like fire at one of our sites? Like we have a remote site where there are no fire alarms and so on. So can you detect fire? And with our AI operator, we have a demo system where you can upload any video and then come with an SOP that needs to be followed for the operator. And then like we upload the video, we give a simple SOP on, hey, like if there is a fire, escalate this incident. And the AI operator did something like stunning, where the video did not show fire as such. The video showed smoke coming from the building and firefighters going up to the roof. And if you're using a traditional computer vision model alone to detect fire, it probably would have missed it, because there were no flames. There was like no yellow flames going up or anything. It's just
There's
fire.
another characteristic of a fire. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When we gave it to the AI operator, we're also curious what the operator would say. The AI said a smoke can be seen and firefighters can be seen climbing to the roof. This likely indicates a fire. Escalate the situation. And that shows the power. So that's human-like reasoning there for you. It reasons just like a human. And it also answers your second question to some extent. We have developed this AI agent, this whole model/algorithm with safety and security in mind. So that's a guiding principle throughout our design process, where if the AI is not sure what's happening in front of the camera, it should still escalate. It should let the human operator analyze that situation and make a judgment call. Like, don't we have trained the AI not to resolve anything that it's not 100% confident about. And that's how you ensure safety in life critical situations. It's okay if a couple of extra alerts go to the human operator. You would rather prefer that and not have real incidents get missed by the AI because the AI for some reason thought it was perfectly fine. And in terms of like technical AI terms, like there's this concept of false positive and false negative. Like false positive is it's a AI says it's something serious, whereas in reality it is not. And false negative is the other way around, where there is something actually happening, but the AI says everything is fine. And it's impossible to design a system from an engineering standpoint that has zero false positives and zero false negatives. So we artificially introduce, or we artificially allow some false positives to have as low of a false negative rate as possible. So that's a design. Like, that's going into like some technical detail on how this is done in the backend. But that's the answer to your second question on how do we ensure that while dealing with life critical situations, AI does not make errors. And there's an analogy to self-driving cars here, or even like any autonomous system. The goal is not to be the goal. Like getting to 100% perfection is challenging, and that might not even be the end goal. It's like as long as you're better than 99% of the humans out there, of human operators out there, that can still provide a significant amount of value in the real world. We know the amount of human errors, like not just in security, but even in like flying planes, like human errors come up everywhere. As long as we can statistically show that the AI is better than the best human operator or better than 99.99% of humans doing the same thing, that itself gives a significant amount of value. And getting to 100% perfection obviously is the goal, but we need not wait until we like fully perfect all systems. I'm not saying that like deploy things that are not working, but we can get data on like where human operators are good at, and then what's the performance of human operators, and then if you compare the performance of AI operator, and if that's significantly better from a statistical standpoint, and that gives enough confidence that AI operator will make a significant difference compared to human operators.
Yeah, I like this topic, Sam, about reliability. I think here's my opinion on this, and I'd love to hear yours. But my opinion on this is the same, right? That these things predict. They're never meant to be 100%. So they're looking for some prediction around something. And while it'd be nice to get 100%, even if it's operated at 97 or 98, and there's a single digits of false positive, false negative that happen, to me, in comparison to a human, that's better than we'll ever be. We think we operate at 100%, but we don't, right? I mean, if I had a human that was watching those trying to do the same job as AI, well, I would argue that they would go much below 99%. Imagine if you had your work week and you could say, I operated at 98% of my best self this week. Nobody's doing that, right? Like you're taking breaks in between work. You might have some downtime. You do a presentation or a podcast, and maybe you're not really on it today. No one's 100, right? And so I think when people have this expectation that this is supposed to be 100, I think that they have to adjust that and to say like, hey, you have to think about that AI is accomplishing repetitive things at scale that we can't do, period. And so it's like a different category, I think, of reliability expectations we have to think about. And the other thing that I would add to this is that when we think of risk mitigation and security, businesses buy insurance, right? So if I'm able to say the system at a 97% accuracy rate can get me there, I only need to count within my insurance premiums or in my coverage that 3% or 10% of losses, right? As opposed to a human that's way more consistent at scale, right? To say, where would we fit? Maybe they're sick that day. Maybe we're understaffed. It's way more unpredictable than the algorithm. And so, again, that's my take. And I think humans are meant to do different things. I had a post on LinkedIn recently to talk more about this. I think when in time did we watch screens or we use keyboards? The days of, software programming is changing right before our eyes with AI. And so, in my view, that I think we'll eventually, with AI abundance, is we'll find ourselves at a place where we can be humans again. And that's more maybe altruistic, but the point is I think that people should feel comfortable with that change, and they should definitely feel comfortable with the reliability amount if they accept what I said to be true, and if not, then that's okay. It's up for discussion, obviously. So what do you think about that? I don't know if you feel different.
I 100% agree. I mean, well, first of all, even in our workflow, if there is always a human operator at the end who can take over if needed. So it's more like you have an assistant who tells you, like, who reads a couple of files for you, then comes to you with a recommendation. You can always like ignore the recommendation or like bypass that recommendation and do what you want. And that's one. And then you mentioned the insurance premiums, and we have many of our early customers, when the insurance renewal comes up, they do get like premium reductions in like, property insurance and others. For some specific customers types like car dealerships, they have like what's called a dealer swap and lot insurance and so on. So we get all this like insurance premium. Our customers do get those. And at the end, you mentioned the human, having operators be humans again. It's a strong point. I have a personal anecdote to add there. So when we were starting out a few years ago, my co-founder and I talked to a lot of people in the security industry, from chief security officers at Fortune 500 companies all the way down to GSOC operators. We also had, like, as founders new to this industry, we had this concern: hey, how will operators respond to AI doing a lot of this work for them? And I still remember this conversation with a SOC operator, and then they were like so happy to see what we are doing because they hated like nobody likes looking at cameras all day long, looking at things, and they have other things to do being a SOC operator too, like escalate real incidents, like travel risk management at a Fortune 500 company, like things of that sort. There are so many things that really need human empathy and human emotions to like looking at 33 cameras looking out for anomalies is definitely not one of those. The operators are also not, at least most operators are not looking forward to like looking at 32 cameras and finding anomalies. So operators actually welcome AI doing more and more of these tasks so that they can upload themselves and do more tasks that need like real human emotions and intelligence, which will
I
also
agree. Yeah.
grow in their careers too. So it actually benefits real human operators or security operations center operators way more than what you initially realize.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, and two, if the company accepts a degree of risk, that trickles to the security operations team. So the security operations team can sleep well knowing that, hey, the business has agreed based on the performance of this is the percentage of risk we've accepted. So I can sleep well knowing that I'm not going to catch everything. Certainly not from my human side, and not on the AI side either. And that's okay. And therefore, I can spend that energy on the things that make us human. If I was to use a loss prevention team, as the example I've used recently, one part that I don't think it gets overlooked in the loss prevention community, but I don't know that how much people pay attention to it in the security industry. But one big thing that a loss prevention leader does is foster trust amongst its loss prevention uh, team and its store operators, meaning that you build a culture where you feel a part of a family, you feel a part of the vision, meaning that the internal theft, which is a huge problem in retail, starts to go down because they feel like, hey, I'm not going to steal from my family. I'm not going to steal from this company that, I bleed these colors for this company. So, but that is like a human thing, right? That now we can double down on, and as opposed to be like, oh, we need to watch cameras. And so I think that I'm super inspired about AI's promise in our industry, and I think it's going to make us better people. And hopefully we'll come home but the security operators will come home a lot less frustrated because the AI will automate a lot of things that they never wanted to do in the first place. So let's talk more about the human in the loop stuff, right? So we touched on this a little bit, but this segment would be to just go like kind of more deep into that idea and how we present, the data is presented to the human from the AI. So what do you feel will be an ideal collaboration between the human operators and an autonomous security agent or agents? What would that look like? And where exactly does human intervention become necessary?
It's back to what you mentioned about we need to take a step back and look at what's AI good at, or what are AI agents look good at, and what are human operators good at. AI agents or AI operators are good at analyzing lots of footage, looking out for anomalous things, like constantly watching live feeds, like without taking breaks and so on. Like that's what AI is good at. What are humans good at? analyzing a situation. Okay, somebody seems to be falling down. Okay, wait, is that a medical emergency? Should we call 911, or like is somebody falling down because like something else, something really bad happened, and then should like 911 be should police be called? So there are all those decisions that need to be taken, and that's best taken by a human operator today. Maybe AI can take over more and more of those longer term, but as of today, humans are good at responding to incidents, responding to serious incidents, making a judgment call on what needs to be done immediately. And now, when we design these systems, we keep this in mind, where we let the human operator, we let the AI operator do all the heavy lifting of looking at cameras, analyzing footage, and so on, and then even reason through the SOP as we discussed earlier. And then if it's a serious incident, like escalate straight to the human operator. So this is what I'm seeing. As an AI operator, I think this needs to be, you need to take a look at this because of these reasons. It says nobody should be present here between this PM and like I said 7 PM and 10 PM in the SOP. There is somebody here. The person is acting clearly suspiciously. So let's do something. And the human operator then, instead of looking at the past, like the 5 minutes of video from the time that the person came in, they can just look at the AI summary and then like make a quick action, saving many seconds. On the other hand, if it's something that's not a threat and the AI has 100% confident, it can resolve the event on its own after reasoning through the SOP. So it's a combination of let AI do what it is good at and let humans handle what humans are good at. Is the philosophy that we follow.
Got it. Thank you. Taking a shift here, Hekimo has already prevented thousands of incidents, as you mentioned, across all kinds of industries like automotive dealerships and construction sites. You did mention something earlier in the call, and it was mentioned in the press release about even saving lives. And I don't know if this is where we talk about that, but could you share a compelling customer story that illustrates how this technology is making tangible or a tangible difference?
Sure. We found a couple of maybe 2 or 3 examples. One is from we have a case study on this. It's a car dealership in rural British Columbia. Well, that itself shows that like this technology is useful, like not just in the major cities, but also in like rural areas, where there was this car dealership that was getting hit like once a month or multiple times a month. Uh, Getting hit is, what I mean by that is something serious, like somebody stealing a car, stealing catalytic converters, and so on, which takes away time and then costs money to the dealership. And they went live with us February 2023, like 2 years now, and they haven't had a serious incident ever since. And we are able to like, people have tried, and the AI agents deterrence through talk down and all clearly help literally clean up that dealership. So that's one example. We have another similar customer who verbatim said, we have it mentioned in the press release too, that he literally said he can sleep better at night because of and our AI monitoring that. And the life saved example was somebody unfortunately on drugs who just collapsed in front of a camera that we monitored, and AI picked it up. We called 911 and we were able to like save that person, like because we acted like within seconds. The 911 emergency services was made available to that person within minutes. And that's like, looking back, that's the biggest source of like satisfaction as an entrepreneur is to see this technology being used to make a real difference, to the extent of even saving a life. Yeah, so those are all specific examples of technology catching something, making a real difference with like real customers across the country.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity, when it picked up on the person that fell due to drug overdose and that you were able to call, to save their life, emergency, what was it about that activity of that person that triggered the AI? What was it about that picked up that moment?
Just a
Triggered the AI?
combination. It was a combination of events, which is also another reason why like AI is great at these things. Like this was A, at nighttime, or like late at night, B, at a place where nobody should be there, and C, the person just collapsed. So like there were like multiple triggering points, so to say, which made the event like a super high priority one. Immediately escalated to human operators who looked at the situation, and made that accurate judgment call of escalating to.
That was a great story. Thank you, Sam. I want to get back to, we talk about contributing, especially as an entrepreneur. I mean, one, that's a huge one. You can't get much better than saving a life. But I do want to talk a little bit about law enforcement agencies and how this helps them, right? So if we think about, given police departments, they increasingly refuse to respond to unverified alarms. We did talk about that at length earlier. How does Hakima's autonomous security agent approach regain the trust of law enforcement agencies from your perspective?
Yeah. So I know when we use our software, or when our customers use our software to do similar dispatches, right now the dispatch part is still handled by human operators, but how the AI operator helps is the AI operator tells the human operator, hey, escalate this alarm or dispatch law enforcement because this is happening in front of this camera. Like, you can see it in live use. And the human operators can then, when they talk to law enforcement, they can quickly tell them, hey, we are seeing on live video that this is happening, that somebody's has collapsed, or somebody's like trespassing and they're like breaking into cars, or they're trying to like steal something from a construction site. Like, human operators can provide the full description of what's happening, thanks to the AI operator, and they can do it on their own, but it makes them way more efficient, and saves like seconds and minutes in cases like that, because the AI operator tells them, hey, escalate because of this happening in this field of view between these times, and the person is still there, so escalate. So the AI operator gives human operators valuable pieces of nuggets of information, so to say, when talking to law enforcement, and law enforcement values that. Like, they would prioritize a real verified threat or a random alarm call any days. It helps get a prioritized response in most jurisdictions too.
Yeah. So what I heard is like the AI provides a verified alarm as has gone through the data in order to present something that they can have a higher degree of confidence for. That's I would say more objective. Sounds like, because it's AI, or it's a machine that's doing it at scale. So let's shift into ethical considerations. Our favorite conversation in the security industry, right? Everybody's worried about security, this, security, that. Obviously, and as you mentioned earlier, like, you build with security in mind, and so naturally it comes up a lot in the podcast. And so I'd love to get your take. What are ethical considerations, or what are ethical considerations that organizations should keep in mind when deploying autonomous AI security agents?
Yeah, it goes back to the point on like being conservative. This is life and death. Security, we deal with life and death situations like every day. We need to make sure that AI agents always act conservatively. Going back to the false positive, false negative examples, we make sure that, as I mentioned earlier, we make sure to reduce false negatives like all the way down to zero as much as practically possible, which can introduce some false positives, which we would rather prefer that than have false negatives. So that's a guiding principle that we have. We are doing security because if you look at it from a pure scientific/technical standpoint, accuracy is like whether you predict what's there correctly or not. If it's true, do you predict true? If it's false, do you predict false? And you can get a better accuracy number by having more false negatives, by having a balanced false positive, false negative threshold for the AI model. Whereas we take like we care more about having no false negatives than having the best accuracy rate from a technical standpoint. So that means that our accuracy, like, we might be able to tune our algorithms to better accuracy by introducing false negatives, but we deliberately do not do that because we are in the security industry, and we value we want to make sure that every security incident is getting escalated properly, and make sure that AI does not accidentally miss real incidents. And the whole design philosophy of our AI algorithms is based on that guiding principle of not having false negatives.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And then I think as people continue to use generative AI, there's going to be much more and more focus on that, because I can imagine for something that democratizes AI development, it seems like that it's got to get it right, especially as this stuff starts to code more and get involved into DevOps more and more, every aspect of the business. And so, and and as we talked about earlier, the security industry is in the high impact quadrant. So like Highland Tech, for example, I don't know if I already said this on this call. I apologize, audience, I did. But when we work with customers, we work on a repetitive and impact quadrant, right? So the idea is that if it's in the repetitive side, an agent's fair game. right? It's open to that. But if it's low impact, you could do autonomous because it's low impact, right? But if it's high impact, which is what we're talking about here, everything in the security industry is high impact. Okay, pretty much. So to get to the North Star of autonomous, you're right. It's like we have to reduce that. Now, if we can reduce the false positive, false negatives, and now the agent will start to shift into being in more high impact products or high impact parts of the space, right? That we cherish so much, which is property protection of property, people, and assets, stuff like that. So I appreciate your ethical stance on that. I think that's a good one to have, a good North Star to keep the products, as in the best interest of the customers that use them. So let's talk about real world applications a little bit more. So looking forward, what other real world applications could benefit Akimos technology outside of the traditional security context? So we
Yeah,
might think of like operational efficiencies or things like that.
great point, Don. That's something that we have been exploring as well. With the new the breakthrough that we just had in AI, with the AI operator that we have, we can go beyond traditional security use cases. Essentially, anything that happens in front of a security camera that can be described in words can be detected by the AI operator and can use that for like non-security use cases. The biggest example is like safety and compliance within warehouses, construction sites. There are a lot of like compliance and safety requirements, from just wearing your vest and hard hat, PPE, to like operating forklifts, and like there are a lot of such compliance safety use cases that can be addressed with the same workflow. That's one big example. There are examples like that in other industries which are beyond security, and essentially if there is something that happens in front of a camera, we can monitor that and escalate if something goes out of some security monitoring. It becomes like generic video monitoring and video understanding and response. So our vision is that we'll be the platform where anybody can connect any security camera or any camera, so to say, and then say, hey Hakima, look out for this specific thing happening, and if that happens, call me on my cell phone, or escalate to law enforcement, or like call the operations manager on that shift. That's our vision, and that's where we are progressing. That's where we are progressing towards, and these are all stepping stones in that journey.
Yeah, appreciate that. I mean, I think there was a time, it's still probably now, where there's a lot of, companies that could not innovate as quickly. So they would make excuses of why their old thing is still good, you know? And I think one, you're clearly not in that boat because you're doing the cutting edge with what this is for sure. And then two, that response tells me that you're open minded to say, we see the expansiveness, we see so much more opportunity, right? Even where we're at, which is already a ton of opportunity as it is, especially with this new press release and the new investment, such a big deal, But I wonder if that is because that, and I think it might be, but I think once generative AI showed up, it afforded companies to think that way, as opposed to in the past when they needed to make something, engineer something that they already knew the daunting task that it would take in order to get there, or they would know the limitations. And so not really a question, just something I'm reflecting on what you're saying and can just appreciate where you're coming from. So I got one more question for you and we can wrap up, Sam.
Yeah,
All right. So let's finally, as the industry transitions from human security guards to AI-driven solutions, how do you envision the role of security professionals evolving over the next decade?
when you say security professionals, do you mean like anybody in the industry, or specifically security guards or security officers?
I think the security professionals, right? So that could be guards, it could be practitioners, but I think for the sake of the what I would start to answer with that first is the ones that are involved with these systems, right? So the customers that interact with your systems, like how do you envision that role transforms? So simply put, the security operator. The security operator is not an AE firm. It's not a consultant, right? It's not a manufacturer. It's not whatever. So the security operator, I think, falls into the end user category. So if you want to add anything else besides that, that's fine. But that might need a little bit more thinking. I think this is like within the realms of, what you can impact.
But I would say security professionals or SOC operators have like they will be doing more and more of, even now they are doing more and more of what I call high value tasks that need human emotions and judgment, and that's way more rewarding than looking at cameras. So human operators will have a way more rewarding experience, and it also it helps their career growth too. Like many security operations centers traditionally have somebody monitoring cameras and access control, looking at alarms all day long, and another set of operators looking at like intelligence, travel risk management, and more higher value tasks. And the second type of operators usually get paid more too, because they are doing like high stakes situations that need human judgment. And the first set of operators were just people looking at cameras. Many customers, like including a couple of Fortune 500 companies that I know of personally, they're merging the two, where they're not differentiating between two kinds of operators. With Hakimo implemented, they have a lot of these mundane, repetitive tasks taken away by, like, the AI does all those things. It frees up time for the first set of operators too, and they can now join the second set of operators doing security beyond the four walls of the company, looking at travel risk management, intelligence, social media monitoring, things of that sort, that need more human judgment, emotions, and context to act. That's a great thing for the operators too, because that needs more human attention and judgment, which in turn that it also pays more than just looking at cameras. So it's like a tide uplifting everyone. Like it lifts them too. Like they now, those operators can do more higher value tasks, which escalates their careers too. And a general comment is that generative AI is transforming like every single profession out there. I cannot imagine like a single profession where generative AI will not help them on a day-to-day basis. So that extends to like all security professions too, from operators to managers to corporate security leaders.
I love that you ended with that, because like spitting facts, right? Because the idea is that, yeah, we're talking about, AI agents, autonomous agents living within the security operator realm that affects them. But keep in mind for the audience, like this stuff is impacting every job, everywhere, in every industry. All of big tech believes it. And so we're just a part of this next revolution, and as security professionals. So just keep that in mind. Like, you're not alone, and you're, whatever you feel and be affected, this is everybody else is going through this right now. And I think there's a lot of opportunity, as Sam mentioned and pointed out, as we talked about throughout some of this podcast, is that I think will elevate us to be better humans, and not necessarily just a part of moving inputs into outputs, all right, and being the middle ground. So, Sam, it's been a pleasure to have you. I know this is a huge release for you, and this is an episode for us. And I didn't know if you wanted to have the opportunity. I'd love to hear if you had anything else for the audience you wanted to help close on with, given the fact that this is a really big announcement. And I'm really excited for what you're doing. And I think what you've described today is really exciting. And I think we have plans to see each other at ISC, so we can see some of the things in action and have maybe a little bit more conversation around it. So was there anything maybe you wanted to just wrap up for the audience here, given the announcement and the press release, or anything else around the topic of the
100%.
what you're doing?
Yeah. Thanks. First of all, thanks, Don, for the opportunity here. 1 hour just went by just like that. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. And for the audience, yeah, I mean, we just announced this breakthrough, and AI would love to show what it can do. Do visit our website, hakimo.ai, hakimo.ai. Book a demo. Would love to show this, and even like we actually invite customers to share incidents that they have had, and we can show in real time how our AI operator would have responded to an incident. So would love to, if you're interested, would love to try that out. If you have interesting videos too that you can share. And we will be at ISC West next week, a few days. We'll have a booth there. Don and I will be talking again. Would love for you guys to stop by our booth. If you reach out on our website, we have a suite in the Venetian too for deeper dives and meetings. Happy to schedule a deep dive there and show this technology, and then discuss how we could help you. And if in the audience, if there are folks looking for new opportunities. We're actively hiring across all functions from sales to engineering to customer success and marketing. So if you're interested in joining a fast growth, high growth startup at literally the cutting edge of security and AI, do reach.